Well, welcome again to Riding Mower King. It's time to do a what's in my yard, not so much a what came in this week, because all these came in one by one, and they came in so quick I wasn't able to do a what came in this week. So this is going to be a what's in my yard. I've done a couple of these style before, so we're going to look at everything that you haven't seen yet. So this first one here is a John Deere GT235. And it has an 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. It's very similar to this LX288, almost cut from the same mold. This one has a 48-inch deck on it. Of course, it's got the John Deere hood. And here we can see the 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. This one needs a PTO clutch. This clutch is locked up so the engine actually doesn't turn. And the homeowner said he was going along using it, and the engine just stopped, and the PTO clutch is actually starting to come apart. So if we look down here, we can see that the magnets there are starting to come apart on this, and it actually doesn't work anymore. So this clutch needs to be replaced, and a little bit of oil leaks there. And it got a seat cover. But two of the good things about this tractor, the 48-inch deck, and it's got wheel weights on both sides on the back, and nice big tires. These tires are 23 by 10.5. They're not like the 23 by 9.5, but they're also not the 24s. But here you can see 18 horsepower V-twin, the GT235. The next one here is the Simplicity. This one has a 44-inch deck. It does need a seat. The seat's pretty bad on it. And under the hood, it's a 16 horsepower Briggs & Stratton V-twin. This one does turn over by hand. But the battery's dead on this one. And this one's been sitting for a while, so I don't know if I'll have a chance to even try to get this one started. But the homeowner told me that this does run, it just doesn't move very well. So it's possible that it's just a worn out belt or a tensioner. Well, I can feel that the belt has tension on it, so it may not be that. It could possibly be a bad transmission. Or it could be that the valve's not closing all the way when you push the lever in. Something like that. But this one still has the headlight lens in it. And that's kind of a rarity on a Simplicity like this. These were actually really good tractors. But that's a fairly older one now. And then we got this big white outdoor, kind of like a Troy-Bilt style. It's MTD, of course. This should be a 46-inch deck. Yeah, it doesn't say on it, but it should be a 46. Maybe a 48. Now this one has a 22 horsepower V-twin. And the engine turns a little bit. But it sounds like the starter gear is locked into the flywheel. So I was able to turn a little bit. It hurt my wrist pretty much. Of course, the hood is not attached. You know, that's a common thing on these. The homeowner said this is most likely a parts tractor because he seemed to have a lot of trouble with it. I don't know if it was engine trouble, transmission, or deck problems. But it's well worn. It's a GT235 Hydro. Now this one here, this one's nothing to look at. This is a flood victim here. This person lived by a creek. The water came up into the garage and pushed this through a wall in their garage. And, you know, they told me that, but I was hoping that it only came up a little bit and just floated. But you can see here, it still has the mud on top of the engine. About 8 years after it happened, they left it sit there So the rear doesn't roll. The front tires roll, but the rear transaxle probably got rust in it now. Well, look what we have here. This here's a mate to the one that I have in the garage that I took the engine apart. I was able to find this online. It's not quite as nice as I thought it was going to be. You know, they said they had it repainted by a local Votech. So the paint's nice on it, but it's unrestored. And the Votech school, they put this engine in it. I think it's from a pressure washer or a generator. But the original engine lost spark, which is a shame. So they put this engine in it. And it needs a little bit of wiring done to it to get it running. But this will be a nice little match. A nice companion for the other one. The 8M that I had. This one's more of a custom or an 8E because it has the lights and electric start. And that one did come with this metal deck. The one that's in the garage had no deck, and I bought another one. I think I bought a 7 or an 8 with an aluminum deck, but this one actually came with a steel deck. So between the two of these, one of them is going to be a complete little tractor for the tractor shows. Now this kind here, an LT1045, this is getting to be as common as an LT1000 Craftsman. These things are everywhere. And we know what's under the hood. Same thing they all have. And I don't see a deck size on this, but I'm going to guess it's a 44 or a 46 because it has 3 blades. So it's most likely a 46, but it doesn't actually say anywhere. It's got a real nice Cub Cadet seat on it. And there we go, the Kohler Courage. Now this one does run. The battery's dead. I got this from a shop and they jumped it and I drove it onto my trailer. If you look under here, there's a little bit of staining under there. So the top cover is starting to leak a little bit. But you reach up under there, and there's no evidence that it's cracked yet. If it was cracked, it would definitely be wetter than that. But overall, this is a nice tractor yet. It just has the Kohler Courage engine in it. So that's going to hurt it a little bit. But if I keep this to sell retail, I'm definitely going to take the top end apart. Make sure all those screws are tight, all the bolts in the top cover that go into the case, that you definitely have to make sure those are all tight. Now on this Cub Cadet, down here it says 46-inch blade. 46-inch cut right there. So, since that one says 46 and it's a 3-blade, this one looks pretty much the same. I would bet that this one's a 46 also. It's definitely bigger than a 42. It's got 3 blades. Now, the main reason I got this Cub Cadet, this came from a shop. And when you would mow with this and you go on a hill, like where you're leaning to the side, it would blow the fuse. But if you put a fuse in it, it would start right back up. So this has some sort of wiring problem. It may be the wiring harness not where it's supposed to be, that it wore through someplace. So this needs a little bit of attention on the wiring. But it does work. I drove it onto my trailer. Oh, look at this. We got a 0 turn. This one here needs a PTO clutch. The PTO clutch is starting to give up aluminum shavings. And I drove this one onto my trailer also. Right now I got the battery charger on this because the battery's dead. And unlike the Cub Cadets, the battery's not there. The battery is under here, under that cover where you'd expect to see the gas tank. On this one, the gas tank's actually under the seat. and the fill is on that side. So I've got this battery charging, and let's see if it cranks over at all. You tried. So there you can see she works, but it does need a PTO clutch. But that's a 42-inch and another Kohler Courage 19. So that's the drawback on this one. Now so this one is drier under there. It's got a little bit of staining, but this one is dry. There's no little trace amounts of oil or anything. And also they put a weight on the back of these for your hitch mount. It's actually a cast iron weight there. So the last one we have in this batch here is this Toro Wheelhorse. This is a 1638 HXL. This is a Toro, but it's just a riding mower. This is not a tractor. That's why it looks different a little bit. This is their idea of competing with just riding mowers. So I'm sure this was a little bit cheaper than like a 314 or a 418 or a 520. You know, those were garden tractors. This here's these were solid little machines. This one still has a good hood on the front. This one is not broken yet. I think the homeowner said they replaced the hood a couple years ago, which would make sense because usually these are missing headlights and the hood's usually cracked because of the way that it latches. So now this one has a really nice seat on it yet. And here we see a Briggs & Stratton 16 horsepower overhead valve plus. So it's got a cast iron sleeve, pressure lubrication with a spin-on filter. So down there is your spin-on oil filter. And you see the axle on this, a cast iron axle. So this is a very well-built machine. And a nice thing I like about these is they do not have an electric PTO. Right there, you lift that lever up to where it says engage. That's how you engage the deck on these. This one only has the 38-inch deck, the recycler deck. It does have a side discharge chute there, so you can at least shoot the grass out the side. Now you'll see the hood on this is black down there. That's because the exhaust comes out that way, and if you start it with the hood open, it blows right across the front of the hood there. And this smells rich when it's running. So I think maybe the float is not sealing. Maybe the needle valve doesn't seal all the way, but it does start up on its own. I gotta push the lever in. Now we get a little bit of go. So it feels like a nice tight transmission on this one. So there's a nice little mower, but it's only a 38-inch deck. But that one will have no trouble selling. I'll need to go over the carburetor a little bit, probably sharpen the blades, check the belts, and that'll be a nice mower for someone. So that's what's in my yard this week that you haven't seen yet, from a John Deere garden tractor, the GT235, to this nice little Toro Wheelhorse 1638 HXL, which is just a riding mower. And even the Cub Cadet is really just a riding mower, you know. And then we got a 0-turn, so a nice selection of everything right now. And of course we got a nice old Sears there, all painted up already. And that's actually a complete machine with the deck. So there's going to be videos on a couple of these. I'm definitely going to have a couple of these long enough to work on them. Some of these are going to move, I think, before I have a chance to work on them. I just wanted to get this video done because we got some rain coming in pretty soon here. And I got a little bit behind on, you know, making videos of what's coming in. But these all came in one by one. And spring has sprung. You know, the mowers are moving. Now we got to get the grass growing, get the mowers moving back out again. So if this kind of video is interesting, hit the like button, even a subscribe. And if you want to see which ones I get to work on, hit the notification button. And we'll catch you in the next video.